All right. Keep it down over there. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful planet of ours. This is Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, here for the first Metaphysical Mocha Monday of the decade. Happy New Year to you. Happy 2020 as we move into the year of the 4 in numerology. I want to say thank you for following my work. Thank you for participating in today's show. Today's show will just be a half hour of inspirational for the inspirational messages for the week ahead. I see a lot of people tuning in, so thank you so much for tuning in. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, in my healing and prospecting studio, and just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to come into your phone, your laptop, your home, and share inspirational messages with you, whether you're religious, whether you're spiritual, whether you're just seeking and have had an awakening. I'm kind of that guy. I'm that guy that just kind of helps lead and guide and inspire and get you thinking outside the box. And today we're going to be talking about something that came to me this weekend while I was watching a movie. Some of you may know it. It's John Travolta's Phenomenon, and something that he talked about when we're so wrapped up in life and where we're going and the things that are going on in our life. And so we'll be talking about everything is on its way to somewhere. And that's an important spiritual message that we need to remind ourselves. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you want to follow any of my work, you can just go to marclainhart.com. You can do an internet search for the Intuitive Prospector, which is spiritual transformations for spiritual healing and, most importantly, spiritual gold. It is the first Monday of 2020. I was going to look for my calendar, but I don't even have my new calendar up yet. So no Mocha Monday is complete without a nice cup of coffee, which I have to say I'm getting pretty good at making my vanilla hemp latte coffee. So if you would, just take a breath with me. Grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's move into Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. And if you stick around at 8:30, I will be doing the Healing Cafe. That's where I have direct conversations with you. So if you have comments, I've seen a couple people put in comments. So good morning to you. Happy New Year to you. I don't actually interact with anybody during this half hour. This is more of an inspirational show to just kind of get you thinking ahead for the week. Excuse me. And then at 8:30, the Healing Cafe is where I'll actually have a direct conversation with you. I take readings in order as they come in. It could be psychic. It could be just more of a question on death and dying, spiritualism, metaphysics, mediumship. And if it ends up being a mediumship reading, which I've already had a few people coming to me this morning wanting to connect, I'll ask that you call my business line and we actually have a conversation over the phone so I can hear your voice and get the yeses, the nos, or I'm not sure. It allows me to make for a better reading, a better reunion, and a better connection by using the energy of your voice. So again, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to marclainhart.com. You can internet search the Intuitive Prospector. You can find me through your Alexa or Echo Pod. Just ask to open up Positive Living and you'll get spiritual daily tips from me. You can also follow my work on my YouTube library, which has over 300 videos now of these shows, hikes, dives, interviews, 4+ seasons of Inspired Living Radio, which is my podcast over on Om Times Media and Magazine. That's every Wisdom Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, where we do live interviews, amazing guests. I have an amazing guest coming up at the end of January where she just had her top-selling book, Seance, published. I'm actually in it, which I'm very honored with that. And I have to say thank you so much to Best American Psychics. They made me, they awarded me the 2020 Psychic of the Year. That's a very humbling award for me. It shows that I've been working hard for the last 10+ years of doing this work, trying to bring some truth to spiritualism, to metaphysics, to mediumship, without all the weird woo-woo stuff, and really just focus on the science, the truth, the spiritual aspect of what happens when we move out of this body and we start to have after-death communications, mediumship. And they awarded me the 2020 Psychic of the Year for Best American Psychic. So I'm very honored, I'm very humbled, and thank you so much for that prestigious award. I did have an award back in 2015 for the Awesome Accolades Award, so that was very humbling as well. But it's always nice to be recognized with awards because it just shows that you're putting in the time and effort and dedication to help others. The award is not about ego or prestige or look at me and how great I am. It's a reflection of my dedication to help people, to be in service to the spirit world, to be in service as a light worker. No different than what I did when I was in the U.S. Coast Guard, serving my country. No different than what I did when I was a firefighter, EMT, working for, serving my local community. I'm just now a spiritual ambassador in service to spirit and making this place a better place to live for all of us. And boy, we need that, don't we? We need some good stuff. We need some inspirational, uplifting stuff. So today I wanted to talk about everything is on its way to somewhere. And if you think about that for a sec, everything is on its way to somewhere. We're all walking each other home. We're all guaranteed death and dying. I would say it used to be death in taxes, but I'm not sure everybody pays their taxes anymore, so that's not a guarantee. But the one thing we all have in common is we all breathe. We usually all walk in the same direction, most of us. We have a lot more in common than we do apart. And I just see in our world as we move into 2020, some of the predictions, some of the things I've been seeing has been very heavy burden for me to carry, because I see a lot of diversity. I see war. I see wars abroad. I see even some sort of a civil war here in the United States, which is very concerning to me. And I think that, there's always hope, and that there's always, positivity. You can always look for the bad things in life, guys. And you can always look for the good things in life too. And I'm not a doom and gloom kind of psychic. I don't try to do predictions, but the reality is I see a lot more division in the United States, and with people in civility versus people coming together. And maybe that's what we need to go through, is have some people that are catalysts or antagonists or ruffle the feathers, so we can appreciate what we had before and what we can go to moving forward. But it's just a reminder that everything is on its way to somewhere. We're going somewhere. We're moving towards something. My thought is it's going to be something that's a little bit better. When you're thinking about the planet right now, Australia, the country of Australia, a place I've never visited. I've got friends and colleagues down there, good friends and colleagues down there. It's a beautiful country. I've only ever heard good things about Australia. It's on my bucket list to visit. And I'll tell you, this morning, Australia is heavy on my heart. We're seeing something of a global scale. When I've seen, states declare a state of emergency, but I've never seen an entire country, an entire continent, declare a state of emergency in my lifetime ever. And I've been called, guys, to lots of traumas and tragedies in my professional career, working 8 years in the Coast Guard and 13 years as a firefighter. And in all my life, I've never seen a country completely on fire like Australia is right now. So I want to just take a second to send thoughts, prayers, love, light, rain, better temperatures and weather to put out these brush fires that are just decimating not only the country, but the amount of animals that it's killed, extinction type stuff. And we better start paying attention, guys, to our planet, because when one part of the world is impacted, there is a ripple effect that ripples all around the country, all around the world, that impacts us all. And this is what I'm talking about. Everything is on its way to somewhere. And if we don't change how we're thinking and our behaviors and what we're doing, and start getting along and working together, where we're heading is a place that we don't want to go. We want to, be mindful and have prudence. Prudence is, being informed and with all the news and information that's out there, listening to what's right for you and your path. I'm not here to tell you how to do your job or how to live your life. I'm just saying be aware, because awareness is the greatest agent for change. And with everything that's going on, and you have a country declaring a state of emergency because of fires, that tells you that there's something going on with the planet. I don't get in the debates of global warming, if it's caused by man or, if it's caused naturally. There's the science. I'm informed. I have prudence. The science shows it. I'm a student of life. I'm a student of history. I can just tell you that there's something going on with our planet, and we're going to see more of this, guys, in 2020. This quote from John Travolta, if you've ever seen the movie Phenomenon, it's about him having brain cancer. And at first they didn't know he had brain cancer, but he was able to start to read and really look at the good stuff in what we can do for our planet, the inspirational stuff. He started to solve equations. He started to better agriculture, better medicine. He actually learned how to speak the Portuguese language during the show in a ride to find a kid that was lost in an orchard. And he actually had the ability to use telekinesis to actually move like objects and float objects and pins. And it's a really great movie. It's from the early 90s. It's called Phenomenon, and it's with John Travolta. But in the end, he talks a lot about where I actually came up with the concept of spiritual connection as far as spiritual wind. And when you look out the door, or when you look out the window of where you're at in this world, and you see the trees moving, swaying in the wind, you would acknowledge that those trees are moving because of the wind, but you don't see the wind, but you accept it for what it is. And I've always said that's what the spiritual world, the etheric world, those that we can't see, are still a part of our world. They're like a spiritual wind. And that's actually from that movie, that concept is something that I teach on to this day. And, it was very much a trigger because I lost my brother to brain cancer. And he didn't have the same outcome. He didn't have the same course as John Travolta did in the movie. Quite the opposite. But what happens when we do activate our brain? What happens when we do come informed, or when we awaken, and we awaken these cells that have been dead or dormant for years, and we start to have inspiration? We start to have, what if I could change something? What if I could be better? And that's what the movie is about how, some people want to harness the mind to have power and control and greed, like the government steps in and tries to lock him down. But then there's the true aspect of spiritualism and connecting to something bigger than ourselves. And in the movie, you see him swaying with the wind. He sees the wind moving the trees, and he sits and he sways with the trees, and he connects with the trees. And I've always found that just a very fascinating concept, that we see the effects of the wind, but we don't see the wind. And if you pay attention, that's how the spirit world can interact with you personally. After-death communications, ADC, sign symbols, synergy, synchronistic events. And again, at the end of the day, everything is energy, everything is vibration. When you think about metaphysics, everything is on its way to somewhere. And, I thought I'd use that today to bring in the new year, because 2020, we're all heading somewhere. Where we want to go, completely up to us. Yesterday, January, I'll be honest with you guys, is a tough month for me. This is the month where I lost both my brothers, Michael to murder, Todd to brain cancer. Actually, yesterday was Todd's 18th anniversary of transitioning into this unseen world, which I call the spirit world, the etheric world. Some of you may refer to it as heaven. Some of you may refer to it as something else on your belief system. But, it's 18 years that he's been, he made that transition at the age of 35 after the brain cancer took his physical body. But he's made himself known in so many different ways, so many times. 18 years later, after the fact. Even last night, my sister-in-law sent us a video of her dog, Remy, who was totally looking up at the sky, looking up at the ceiling for almost an hour, because they just lost their dog, Daisy, went over the Rainbow Bridge before Christmas, and she was asking for a sign. And even my cat last night was acting really weird. So I don't know, he was meowing, and he never does that. So pay attention to your animals when the spirit world is around, is what I'm trying to say, because the animals see and hear in different frequencies, and they see what we don't see as humans and what we don't hear as humans. And your animals can be great indicators of when the spirit world is close. And so I know last night, Todd came into my dreams early this morning. So when you're open to it, it's nothing to be scared of, guys. It's just another way of being. Just like you never thought about being in your mom's womb, breathing liquid for 9 months. It's that same concept. You move from a enclosed environment, like a cocoon, like a seedling, and you're punched out into this crazy world of chaos and capitalism and technology, and you start breathing air. The same thing is when we move into the etheric world. When we transition over, we pass over, we leave the physical form, but the energy that's within us, in our heart, that makes our heart go, will transfer to a new state of being, a new consciousness, a return to source. Again, it's all about what your belief system is, but I can tell you from my own journey, my own prospecting, when I started to have death and dying all around me, professionally, personally, and my own near-death experience and an out-of-body experience, I started to realize that there is something more to this than this physical flesh suit and just working a 9-to-5 job so you can pay your taxes and your mortgage and then die. And there's so much more to life than that. And it's just a reminder that everything is on its way to somewhere. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in 2020? What are some of the things that you want to give up in 2020? Could it be, stuff that you no longer need? We always say, be careful of the stuff that you buy and get in debt, because it ends up owning you, and you can't take any of it with you when you transition back into this unseen spiritual etheric world. You can't take any of it. None of the physical stuff applies when we transfer over. So think about what you don't want in 2020. Think about the relationships that you don't want. I've had to really, in 2019, I'll be honest, I really had to focus on my health. I had some health issues with my adrenals and my testosterone. I really had to focus on some of the relationships that I hold and moving away from some of those relationships and moving into some healing to release my past. To, just because I'm on Facebook Live talking to you today as a spiritual teacher, as a spiritual counselor, as a medium, as a psychic, I have to do my own work too, guys. I have to work through my own struggles, my own past, my own mistakes that I've made in my life. But I can tell you, when you release that, and when you release it in a way that's healing, it makes you a lot lighter. It gives you freedom to move into the things that you want to do without the worry or opinion about what opinions people have of you, because people will always have an opinion of you guys. There's always going to be a pundit or a critic in anything that you do, and I always tell people, to live your authentic self, you have to move forward regardless of all the chirping dogs that are barking at you. Family, friends, co-workers. Winston Churchill talked about it all the time. Somebody I really follow in history was Winston Churchill. He said, you'll never get down the path if you stop to listen to every barking dog along the way. And there's a lot of truth in that. But everything is on its way to somewhere. That's the quote from John Travolta in the movie Phenomenon. And I thought it would be a good way to start off the 2020 decade. I say this is our Roaring 20s. I'll be talking about this on Wednesdays, Inspired Living Radio. It's my live interactive show. Then it goes to podcast on iTunes and YouTube and SoundCloud and Podbean and marclainhart.com. And I'll be talking about the Roaring 20s and some of my predictions. So if you want to tune in, I'll be giving some predictions on what 2020 is going to be. Because 2020, as a numerologist, the number 22... because if you look at numerology, the number 2 and 2 adds up to 4. So we're in the year of the 4. But it's also a 22 if you add those together, which is a master number. So it's known as a 22-4. And 22 is considered the master builder because it has big ideas. It has expansive plans, ideology of leadership and self-confidence. And I know with everything that's going on the planet right now, specifically here in the United States, even in England, even in Hong Kong, democracy and ideologies in government and democracy and constitution and war and diversity. I'm looking at 2020 as a master builder year, but sometimes things have to be torn down in order to build things anew. And so I want you to have hope, because 2020 has an extra dimension to it. I said in 2019, at the beginning of 2019, it was going to be a wild and turbulent year because it's the year of the 3. It's also known as a universal number. It's also known as a universal year where big things get really thrown out of whack. And in 2020, we're going to be coming back to this master number of being a master builder. But it's also the year of the 4, which is about focusing and fixing. It's a great time to start achieving your goals. I've set 2020 to be the year that I finally finish my book, publish my book, to tell my story, to tell my past, to tell what I've gone through to become the Intuitive Prospector, to become Best American Psychic of the Year. How do I even got to this point? How I thought this was all BS, to be honest with you. How I got into meditation. How my sports medicine degree, I actually went to college to actually open up the door to spiritualism. And how we can talk with those that are no longer here through after-death communications, with insight, with prudence, to being informed and look for the signs and the symbols in a new way of communicating without all of the television stuff and all the fluff that goes with that. So that's my goal, is to finish that, to have a prospecting deck of cards similar to like this that I can put in people's hands and inspire people and help people and guide people. And 2020 is going to be a year of... it is a great year for you to take your dreams and manifest them into a physical reality, is what I'm trying to say. That's what 2020 is going to be. If you can take advantage of building on both your relationships, your career, it's a great time to lay foundations and build upon the foundations that you may have already brought into your life. So think about that, because everything is on its way to somewhere. Where do you want to go in 2020? What do you want 2020 to look like for you? I'm hoping that, with some of my predictions, that, the Roaring 20s, we always hear about the Roaring 20s from history past. I've always heard about the 20s and the dance and the jazz. And I'll be talking about this on my show on Wednesday. We also led up to the Great Depression in 1929, and I hope that we learn from that as students of history, students of life, and that we don't repeat the same patterns that we're building up to, because the Great Depression in 1929, after the Roaring Twenties, great expansion, voting rights for women, prohibition was brought in, so no more alcohol, which we're kind of seeing that with cannabis and marijuana. You know, more rights for women, seeing women really step into a leadership role. Wouldn't be surprised if we even see our first female president at some point here, or vice president, either or. I'm okay with that. But as far as great things happen in this decade, and then we led up to 1929, which was the Great Depression, which the entire global economy collapsed, and then we moved into World War II. So I'm hoping that we change our pathways, that we don't follow that same pathway. You know, they always say that, you know, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes, and we don't want to follow that rhyme. We don't want another Great Depression. We don't want World War III. But it may look like that to you right now, but that doesn't mean that we have to take that path. So I'll be talking about some of the spiritual and political things that are grappling, that are impacting a lot of us on my show on Wednesday. I'm going to be talking about the Roaring 20s and how we can start to come together, humanitarian, planetary, looking at our planet. Like I said, Australia is really heavy on my heart this morning with everything that's going on in the burning. But not just in Australia, guys. It's happening here in the United States. It's happening around the world. There's a global shift that's taking place, and I hope that you're paying attention if you choose to. Some people will not choose to pay attention. They will put on their blinders, and they will go through life because ignorance is bliss. But I would say have prudence, be informed, trust your intuition, you know, what seems right for you. Don't get caught up in all of the stuff that's around you in your orbits. There's a lot of information. It's like drinking from a fire hose of information at times. Really kind of sit with what feels right to you, what you bring into your awareness, what kind of media you're watching, what are you doing on social media, what kind of friends, what kind of conversations you're having, because that can really play a big part in how you feel about the world and how you interact with the world. So I want to get you your totem animal spirit. I'm going to pick at random. I'm also going to pick just right off the cuff for numerology this morning. So I'm going to just shuffle the deck. I didn't have anything planned for this morning. This was kind of just, you know, just talking about everything is on its way to somewhere, and including you. Where are you heading in 2020? You're on your way to somewhere. Where is that somewhere for you? And today's numerology number, 2, 3, 4. I'm working with the number of 4, and it's the surrender card. So your number this go around is a 9, which is a completion number, and a 1, which is a beginning number. So it's a great card to have because it's saying surrender to what is. The 9 completes and the 1 begins, and that adds up to independence and completion. So it's a yin and yang number. And the surrender card, which is the color of orange, which is also your solar plexus, your belly button area, your what we call your psychic antenna to life. Pay attention to that because your intuition, which is the language of your soul, can really help you navigate the many pathways of life. So surrender, start to learn and grow. And surrender to what is in the year of the 4, the year of 2020, which is a master number, a master builder number as well. And your crystal for the week, like I said, I'm just going to pick at random. And today is serpentine. Serpentine is an earthling stone, and it aids in meditation and spiritual exploration. It's clearing the chakras and stimulating the crown chakra, which sits right up here. And it opens up psychic ability and helps you to understand the spiritual basis of life. That's called serpentine or serpentine, however you want to say it. It's red, it's brown, it's many different colors. It's easily obtained in specialty rock or crystal stores. It usually comes from Cornwall coast of England, which I've been to. I love the Cornwall coast. Great energy, great people, great history. If you've never been to the Cornwall coast in England, highly recommend it for a vacation and a trip. It's also it can be sourced in the United States and Italy, but it's a healing stone as well. So it's interesting that I just picked that stone today. Serpentine, surrender, and numerology. And for your totem animal spirit, like I said, I'm just picking at random today because today is all about everything is on its way to somewhere. The polar bear. The polar bear, if it shows up, if you see the polar bear, and we've been seeing a lot of the polar bears, and the polar bears have been in the news a lot because of what's going on with the planet, the ice melting, their culture, their way of life changing and dying, the polar bear. But it says if the polar bear shows up in your journey, be assertive and strong in both your communications and your actions, yet be willing to yield if necessary. Treat yourself with respect and maintain your dignity at all times. And that's the polar bear, and that's your totem animal spirit for the week. That's your numerology number for the week, and that's also your crystal for the week. Something I try to do as this inspirational show to help people, to guide people, to teach people. And again, most importantly, Carpe Diem, seize the day. What do you want to get out of today, and where are you going? Because everything is on its way to somewhere. That's from John Travolta, the movie Phenomenon. If you've never seen it, watch it. It's a great movie. Like I said, I was chilling this weekend, just getting ready for a busy 2020. I've got a busy year ahead, lots of travel, lots of workshops and teaching. I do have some great workshops coming up, and you'll want to go to marclainhart.com and visit the event section. There's tickets on sale for 3 workshops coming here to Seattle that you'll want to take advantage of working with your psychic, working with your intuition, working with awareness, and most importantly, working with mediumship. I'll be involved with as a course organizer, but I'm bringing some amazing teachers over, 2 from England, Penny Hayward and Paul Jacobs, and also another colleague and friend of mine from Norway, Ramitra Davis Wright. We'll be doing a one-day workshop here in Seattle with her, and I'll be demming with all 3 of them here in 2020. Some great online classes coming up if you want to participate, or if you want to participate in my Healing Cafe, which is coming up here in the next 2 minutes at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And there'll be some other things along the way, personal readings. If you want to join my spiritual development group called SDG, that's every Wednesday night. Via online. I have great people around the United States and Canada. Been doing the group for 4 years. It's a great way to really hone in on any kind of if you're curious about something, even just get a visitor's pass and see if you vibe with your tribe, because we focus on all modalities of psychic, intuition, awareness, meditation, conversation of what's going on in the world, mediumship, and we practice, and that's part of the spiritual path. So if you're interested in joining the group, I have a few seats open for 2020. The group doesn't get bigger than 20. I think I'm at 15 or 16 people right now. So if you're interested in wanting a visitor's pass, just send me a private message or reach out to me. Just go to marclainhart.com to get in touch with me, or send me a private message here on Facebook. That's fine. And if you want to join my YouTube channel and become a subscriber, I'm going to be doing a lot of shows over through my YouTube channel. I'll go ahead and paste the link in right here into the feed right now. So if you want to, I don't know if I can do a comment. Let's see, comment. There we go. I'll put the comment right there. So if you want to be a subscriber and join in the spiritual prospecting for your own spiritual transformations, healing, and of course your own spiritual gold, love to have you come along and join me in 2020, which is going to be our Roaring 20s. It's going to be a fun decade, guys. Everything is on its way to somewhere. Where do you want to go? Join me Wednesday for the Roaring 20s prediction show of what 2020 is going to look like as we move into a master number of 22, which is also the master builder, and the year of the 4, which is the dedicated worker and fixing things. And if we have to fix things, that means a lot of things are broken, including government, politics, religions, the planet, and what we can do as a people, as Homo sapiens, which the word itself indicates wise. I'm not sure how wise we're being with what we're doing, just food for thought, something to think about. Again, we're going to move into the Healing Cafe right now. I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me today and joining me here in Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. I'm just wishing you a happy 2020. It is the first Monday of the year. It's also, I think, the National Divorce Day, because they find after the holidays the divorce applications for divorce go up. So happy Divorce Day to you if you're getting divorced or for trying to find your happiness. I just was reading that this morning, so I thought that was kind of funny. But I just hope that you realize that life is short. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and know that everything is on its way to somewhere. Everything is going somewhere, and for you, I hope that you, go after what you want and carpe diem and seize the day and get out and prospect, just like a prospector in search of gold, that you're out in search of your own spiritual gold. So again, thank you to Best American Psychics for awarding me the 2020 Best Psychic of the Year, which is just, again, I'm just blown away by that. I'm very honored and humbled for that. And I know that 2020 is going to be a fantastic year for a lot of you if you choose to be. Again, it's all about the choice. As my mentors taught me, the problem is irrelevant. It's how you respond to the problem that makes all the difference. Sometimes the glass is half full. Sometimes the glass is half empty. I know people that said, shoot, I never even got a glass. So it's really about your perspective. It's about your attitude. Attitude in numerology is the one word that adds up to 100%. If you add up the numbers based on numbers and in the lettering within the word, attitude is 100% of everything. And that's how it's going to be if you want it to be in 2020. So again, everything is on its way to somewhere. Stick around. We're going to head into the Healing Cafe. And it's been my pleasure to connect with you today. And first show of the decade. And most importantly, live, laugh, love. And until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate. And I'll see you next Monday here on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. Namaste, everybody.